Hello and welcome to Innovate on Purpose, a new podcast here discussing clarity, giving business leaders clarity. This way they can innovate with purpose and grow their businesses purposefully. And today I have a very, very special guest, someone that I've known for quite some time now. I think it's just been actually just over a year, but it feels like forever because we're just, so connected and just on the same page. Is Dr. Doreen Downing, psychologist and a public speaking anxiety expert with her 7 Secrets to Essential Speaking. Find Your Voice, Change Your Life. An amazing book that I had the pleasure of reading and have used every day since I've read it. It definitely helps you find your voice. And it's kind of one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast here today. I found it.
Mhm.
And she helps people with fear of speaking, which is amazing, and offers individual and group coaching and hosts even her own podcast. And you can find those videos filled with public speaking tips on her YouTube channel. And that will be in the comments and in the show notes. So please check that out. Well, welcome to the show, Dr. Doreen.
Oh, Matt, wonderful. Thank you. I am always glad to have opportunities to have conversations with you. It seems like we always open up, expand our minds and our hearts, and discover together what's out there, what's in there, everything. Thank you.
Oh no, thank you. It's always exciting to talk to you, and I'm so grateful that you are the first podcast guest on Innovate on Purpose, and I truly do mean it about finding your voice. When we first started having those conversations, I was a full-time employee working for a company, and I was trying difficultly to try to find my voice and be able to speak out. I was writing a book and trying to figure things out. And your insights have definitely helped me. So I'm glad that I'm able to bring that to the show so we can help other folks find their voice and find their purpose and get them to that next level, because it's all about developing and getting to that next level, whether that's in innovation or leadership or whatever it is. But Doreen, I would love for you just to kind of give me a little bit of a background and then tell the audience, what exactly it is you do and a little bit more about you.
Yes, well, thank you for the opportunity and welcome to all of our listeners today. Yes, the whole idea about finding your voice or finding what is a voice has to do with uh, I don't think it's a stage that you get on and you're a public speaker. I think every moment of your life is a stage. Even right now, speaking with you on a podcast, just you and I, it is a stage. At a dinner table, at a family event, a wedding, of course, that's a place where a lot of people have anxiety about speaking. But in business, and you spoke to one of the areas in which I work a lot with people, is that they are in a corporation or in a business, and they want to really go out and share who they truly are, what they believe, their own gifts. And there's something that just holds them back, whatever it happens to be. A fear, of course, but
Yeah.
so that finding your voice so that you can be more of who you can be is my whole purpose.
I love it. And I want to go back to something you said, like in the beginning of that, was that, speaking on a stage doesn't have to be a literal stage. That's,
Mhm.
not what it's about, finding your voice and speaking, and the stage happens in many different places. And I love that thought because you're right. Like every time that we're in front of others, you're on stage, whether the audience is one person or maybe even nobody. You could be just in the room alone. And I mean, still, the actions you take are on display, and it's definitely our stage. So I
Right.
love that. I love that thought. Like, when was like the first time you realized, like, that you were like looking for your voice and like, did you have that fear of public speaking or using your voice?
Oh boy, did I. Matt, I had a PhD in psychology and I had a private practice in Berkeley, California, and I was doing just fine. I was pretty successful actually and got referrals, but I hid. Here I had this professional, hello, I'm a doctor and I can help you with your fear. But I I did a good job of hiding. And hiding is easier when you're only speaking with one person, and especially when the focus is on the other person and the focus isn't on me. I'm just a good, deep listener and help people. But so I hid the fact that I was kind of trapped inside of my office, and I had more to give in this world. So uh, it's another story how I woke up, but and had the courage. But like you, there's a moment, or there's a series of moments that must have ushered you out of the business world and into your own platform, your own business. So I would
Yeah.
say I had a similar thing that went on for me.
So what was that moment where it was like, "Ugh, I have this problem and I'm kind of living this double, not
Hmm.
double life, but like, where you're helping people, but you just realized you have this problem. Was there like a moment that was like where the spark just went off that, oh man, I gotta fix this?
Well, one thing I think is that, I think I accepted the fact that I may be introverted, shy, a little quieter than most people. And so it seemed more like my identity. It's okay to not want to speak in public. And this is
Hmm.
one thing I really want to reach out to listeners is don't accept that. That's a small frame. It's an identity that, yeah, you could go through the rest of your life, but you'll miss so many opportunities if you say, I'm just don't like public speaking. There's lots of help for you. But what happened for
Hmm.
me is that I was asked to present some research I had done at a conference, and I said,
Oh.
no way. I admitted it to the organizer, and he said, "But doctor, isn't fear your business?"
But you're allowed to have some fear. Jeez.
Right, right. Yeah, I can't get angry. I can't get sad. I can't get afraid. No, but so it was just probably the right moment of time to say, okay, ooh, big breath. I'm going to go to San Francisco. I'm going to take a class on overcoming my fear of public speaking. And it was frightening. But I
Oh, I
think
bet.
that moment when you step it over and go into change process, that you've made a decision. And I think, we're also talking about mindfulness here, about being with yourself as you go to this. Even now talking about it, I get some chills on my skin because it was so scary to go drive into San Francisco, park my car, go up to the conference room, sit in this large room, and be asked to stand up in front of people. And this, but I have to tell you, what happened that night was also a breakthrough. He said, the person who was leading it said, Michelangelo saw the angel in the marble and he chiseled until he set it free. And that's what he said. Hey, you guys, you are all
I
this
love it.
magnificent being inside. You're got all this marble around you. And yeah, I had all this marble of PhD and doctor and success. But inside, my little angel just wanted to flap around like I am today with you.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to think about it, where we're inside that marble and it's about chipping it free. Man,
Yeah.
and it's not easy to do. I know, but like, so
Uh-huh.
what were like some? So you took the course in San Francisco as one of the
Mhm.
things you did to get rid of this fear of speaking. Like, were there other elements to being able to chisel away?
Yeah, isn't that an image too, that chiseling? How do we, but I think it's that first step where
Hmm.
you say, but it's, okay. Whew, I'm getting excited here. Yeah. Oh, the first step is to
Just breathe.
realize that it's an inside job. Yeah, I took myself to Toastmasters and some other trainings because I thought being a better speaker was about learning how to be vocal variety and
Hmm.
pound the fist on the podium or something. But I soon realized that this inner self, this inner voice, is where my power was. And so the chiseling that we're talking about right now is mostly with awareness, right?
Hmm.
Just having mindfulness around what is the block. I could feel, I know there's something deep inside of me. I've had the whispers, I've had the inclinations and the leanings and the longings to be more expressed. But how do I get there? How
Yeah.
do I take myself through fear? And so that's, I would say that awareness and mindfully moving through fear one step at a time with a guide. I know the path. So that's one thing I love to do with people is make it safe for them to move slowly through any of the blocks, reach their essence. And that's why the book I wrote is Essential Speaking. Find
Hmm.
your voice, change your life. So that then the voice comes from a deeper place, a more resonant place, a more true place, a more authentic place.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, where it's like, well, you're talking about chiseling the granite away to see Michelangelo, but really the chiseling happens on the inside, so you can put some room in your soul to be able to speak.
Yeah.
It's kind
Yeah.
of retrospective, I guess, there in a little bit of a way, which is really cool. It's like what we're like as you became more mindful and aware of that fear of speaking. Was there anything that like was the root cause that you discovered?
Oh, you want to go there?
I do. I want to know more.
Okay, yeah, because I'm a psychologist, that is my business, is to go and dive deep into histories. And usually I have lots and lots of stories I could share about finding deep roots in people's backgrounds that then are taken into adulthood. I would say that one that I found for myself was that my mother was bipolar, and she would go in and out of the hospital because she had deep depression when she was on that side of it. And grandma would take care of us. And my
Mm.
grandma would say, and you see that I'm putting my finger over my mouth, right? Shh, be quiet, or your mother's going to go back in the hospital.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Ooh,
get me to not speak.
yeah. So, I, for those who don't really believe in histories and childhood memories that don't linger, that might not make sense. But it was one of the roots. I have other ones, but that was a deep root that,
Hmm.
and, but also at my grandma's house, outside her front window was a garden. She loved roses and gladiolas and, jasmine. And so I had a sense that outside, that there was another world. Inside was my mother who was depressed. But there's this threshold, there's this possibility to step over into a brand new world. So I think that was also another important part of my life in the opposite direction of what's
Hmm.
possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to know or have to see what is possible to be able to take that next step. It's just like,
Yeah.
otherwise, like, where's your direction? So you kind of knew that there was definitely something better out there for you. But wow, that is
Yeah.
an impactful story of between your grandma and your mom, and I couldn't imagine wanting to speak after hearing that phrase, and I could definitely see that how that kind of carries over into adulthood. Like we do carry, I think, a lot of the things that happen when we're younger, big and small, that can cause us to behave a lot differently. I mean, but you're the psychologist, so not me.
Yeah. Well, we all have common sense.
Yeah, I guess. So when you're
I
work,
guess psychology is common sense on steroids.
yes, it's being aware really, because a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
just kind of happens, right? And we don't
Yeah.
realize the things that we're doing half the time.
Yeah.
But when you're
Yeah.
working with clients on this particular topic of finding their voice, I mean, yours is very powerful, and I'm sure not many of the clients have their grandparents telling them to shush. Like, what are some of the most common blocks that people have that they don't realize they had?
Well, I think it's like a story. Each one has a personal story because There are, in my book, I talk about 7 ways in which your voice has been blocked in childhood. And one of the ways, of course, is school, teachers. Another way is peers, other people who bully you or make fun of you. There's also cultural. Uh, like thou shall not, do not. You
Hmm.
children are not to be heard, only seen, something like that. And then there's trauma. Even in my case, there was divorce. There's trauma that people have early on in life. So um, messages that are given, older siblings perhaps that are more talkative, and those are, I have examples in each one of the situations I just talked about. So perhaps if anybody listening thinks that they are a little bit hesitant or scared about speaking up, first take a look at your childhood and break it down into early childhood, maybe like teenagers, and then early adulthood, and see if there are any, if they're, just be quiet with yourself. Some of what we do, Matt, is just to be, whew, open up the space of inquiry, and don't be judgment. Just say, what about me and having a voice? Because very, very early is where we first step out into the world. And are we applauded and welcomed? And is everybody really glad to see us and hear us? Or are they distracted? Or are they mean?
Yeah. So it is doing that inner work and kind of almost scanning your life to find out where those blocks or like mini traumas may have happened to then all of a sudden start to work on that. So say
Yes.
if I go into this scan and then start to think about my childhood, like in fourth grade, I remember being bullied on the playground, and this
Mm-hmm.
one kid didn't want to pick me on the kickball team. And when I said I wanted to play, like, no, you sit down in the corner, and it just was a bully, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that could be like a trauma for me. That's just, you know
Yes.
what, I'm just not going to talk. I don't want to participate anymore because of that bully. Like, what should your clients do? So you identified it. Now, what should you do with that?
Well, there's something similar with a person who's actually VP of sales of all things, and was frightened every Friday morning right before he had to give his meeting, and his report at a meeting, and he would write it all out and then read it when
Mm.
he showed up at the meeting. But he was sweating. But he dove back into his history, and one of the incidents he found was similar to what you're saying, and he spoke up and asked a question in one of the early sex education classes, and it was um, something that the rest of the class laughed at, and then he started to get teased. And what he said, it was a shift, and I we could pick out the shift that you we can make with you in that moment. But he said, I was the only one that had enough courage to ask the question everybody in the class was wondering about. Look at me. I had courage. So what we do is take our adult self back, us, that we are now have way more skills, way more compassion, way more empathy, and we sit in that moment and we give something to that person like you who wasn't picked in that moment. There had to be, what can you say to yourself that is gentle, kind, empowering? What was it? What would you say, Matt?
Oh my gosh! So that you're better than him, and you don't need to be picked. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, and you have other gifts,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you are amazing. So it's the whole idea about finding the essence of, and that's partly of the work that I do, the essence of you that's
Mm.
in there. Yeah, maybe, hey, kickball.
Yeah. I
You got
got bigger things to worry about than
yes,
kickball, buddy.
yes, yes. You got it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
that
that.
kind of, that I just want to say that mirrors what you talked about being in the corporation or
Hmm.
the business, and then there's something more for you out there, and you know you could stay in the business and you could be upset about not being able to kick ball, but get
Hmm.
out and go somewhere else. You got more to offer. Yes, that was
Yeah,
it.
so it's building that confidence within yourself, and kind of, well, not minimizing, but I guess shedding light on the fact that that moment in time is so minuscule and meaningless in the grand scheme of things, and you're
But it's
better than that.
also magnificent. You
I'm
can
sorry.
it's also a magnificent moment.
Mm,
Magnificent because what we just did there was we tapped into something that was grander than that. What, but that moment led us to,
y-
wow,
yeah,
fella, you got more ahead of you.
yeah, you become really grateful for that moment now. All of a sudden, it's like,
Yes,
yeah,
you
that is
got
so
it.
cool,
Yeah, you got
beautiful.
it.
So finding your voice and innovation, like, all right, this is an innovation podcast. Like,
Yes.
how does this relate to innovation, from your point of
Oh,
view?
okay. Innovation and finding your voice. It feels like for businesses and anyone in a business who's a solopreneur to a business leader in a whole corporation, it feels like we have the whole realm here. How does finding your voice? Well, I've read your book, so I know that
Thank you.
somebody has to speak up about the problem. That's the first thing, right? The
Hmm.
problem. Somebody has to identify it. And who do they identify it to, which is that second step, it seems like. And so I think that all
Yeah,
of what you're talking about is, gathering alliances and, you have to be able to uh, speak up in perhaps in a situation that, people are more into status quo, and innovation means, hey, we're going to go outside the bounds, in a
yeah,
way. What you and I just did with that little mini exercise, we innovated.
that's
We
true. You're absolutely right. We spoke up about a problem that was in the past there, and we found a solution that's going to get us moving forward. And I accepted it, that was the solution for the problem,
yes.
which are the three key variables of the mindful
Yes,
innovation process. So, for
absolutely,
anyone that might not know.
absolutely. So I think
Hmm.
voice plays a very is the main thing that innovators need.
Yeah, that is a great point. And a lot of times, like, I talk about innovation for the sake of innovation, and a lot of that is because the voice is missing. Because, like,
Uh,
we'll hear like, oh, the AI is new and cool, and everybody's doing it, and if we don't do it, we're gonna fail, and or we're gonna be disrupted. So we
mhm,
start to tackle AI. Um, Meanwhile, it may not have any value to our business, but we spend a lot of time and resources on these things. So someone that might be close to the business and know what we should be doing, their voices aren't usually heard because, like, oh, you know what, just let them go, because it's just it's overwhelming. At way too many other things going on right now. I can't spend the time here. And
mhm.
those voices are shuttered. And next
Ah,
thing you know, companies are working on things that they shouldn't be working on. So
yes,
absolutely, you're right. Like, it is voicing the problems that we're seeing so we can solve the right things. And your voice needs to be heard, that's out there.
yes,
Whether you're in a corporation, you're a solopreneur, working for a small company, whatever it is, your voice is so important. So don't minimize your voice. That's, I think, really is the key. Is don't minimize your thoughts and speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up.
right. And
What do you
if
think
you
stops
are
people from
afraid,
speaking up? Like when like
what
they're
you,
in a business situation, and
mhm.
they know that the boss has chosen the wrong path, but they don't want to say anything. Like, what usually causes that? I mean, it could be probably a whole slew of things, but what do you see on the average?
Well, I think that in that case, because of the work that I do with psychology, it depends on the person. And
Hmm.
if the person is afraid of authority, then we've got some authority issues to work through. The whole idea of speaking truth to power, that how to do that. So at first of it, it seems like it's an empowering process for the person who sees something but is afraid to speak up about it. And so I would first want to make sure that the person has uh, that there isn't any block to, about that.
Hmm.
And that block could be deeper issues like we talked about a few minutes
Yeah.
ago.
So it's doing that inner work first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then because that's where the power is within a knowing, a truth, you know, that to me
Hmm.
feels like if we're lined up with what we truly see, then you go away saying, at least I spoke up, even if people didn't hear. And you
Yeah.
learn how to speak in a way that people do hear. Or, like what you say in your book, you go around to the people who will listen and start gathering some momentum that way.
Yeah. Gain your allies for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to go back to you talked earlier about introverts, and it seems like well, you have extroverts and you have introverts, and I am totally an introvert, and not always do I want to speak up. Sometimes I do want to go on my shell and just kind of chill out. And you mentioned like some introverts like just I don't do these things. I'm not going to parties. I'm not hanging out with people. It's not me.
Yeah.
Um, what like word of advice would you have for that person that is just introverted? Like, what would you tell them like about
Uh-huh.
trying to, I guess, be less introverted?
Well, that's an interesting question because there's this book Quiet in a Noisy World or something like that. I don't know the
Hmm.
title, can't remember, but the whole idea is how do we affirm our difference and to I keep using the word empowerment is it's there's power in self-acceptance and self-acknowledgement and finding our strengths. And so yeah, maybe being somebody who's not too social is okay, but where are your strengths? And then building on those to me feels like that's one thing. And then, of course, what I do at those kind of events is I find somebody like you. I would go find somebody that I really enjoy talking to,
Hmm.
and then I have a meaningful experience. I leave the party. Yeah, I haven't met everybody and I haven't really shined all over the place. Uh, but, and in that to me is also what happens in networking. I find somebody I can have a true conversation with, a meaningful conversation, and we both go away knowing each other better. I feel like that happened
Hmm.
with us the very first time.
Yeah, same here. That's an amazing point too. So like if you're in like a big setting, a party, and you feel uncomfortable because you're introverted, yeah, seeking out that one conversation that you want to have. And it's not like you have to have a conversation with the other 300 people that are there. Just have a
No.
meaningful conversation with someone that you connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll look for you at a party for sure next time too.
Yeah. Well, let's do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wanted to also go back into your business. So, when you first started in psychology, you were helping people with their fears, but not necessarily speaking. And
Mhm.
then you wrote this amazing book and you solved your own fear. Um, and now your practice is more based on that, correct? So, like,
Yes.
so how was that shift in innovating your business, going from this just generic psychology business of solving fear into one that is very highly niched.
Okay. Yes, that's really important in terms of people changing their paths in terms of innovating for themselves and in business, I would say. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, I think because I felt so strongly about this being a major issue for people is that you can't be more of yourself unless you have a voice. Your voice is always there. That whole idea of your life is your stage. And it seemed like, well, all of what I've been doing already is about helping people go within, find who they are, solve whatever situations are going on. And I never put it out as clearly as I came to know it as, oh, it's about you speaking up in all areas of your life, being assertive, being um, able to be expressed.
Hmm.
And so that was the beginning of the, this is the, I know what I'm doing now. So in a way, it was like me finding my voice, right? I'm not
Yeah.
just working with putting band-aids or problem solving anymore. I'm doing something really deep here. I'm helping
Yeah.
people go through a really deep transformational process so that they can have more life by being able to, step over those thresholds and speak and be on all sorts of platforms. So I would say that that's how it occurred.
That's amazing. And I think I'll add to that too, where it's like, because I see it here right in front of me. It's just the passion behind it, right? And it's like you found your purpose and your passion, and it kind
Yes.
of just ignited you to go in this direction of just, this is what I need to do. It could, and it seems like,
Mhm.
well, you have, well,
Mhm.
helped change the lives of many with your book and also with people in person. So just kind of seeing that must be so rewarding, that the
Yeah.
transformation that you're seeing in people's lives once they find their voice.
I think it was about a 5-year experience for me to be. It actually did take 5 years to write the book, and it's
Wow.
not a long book. But to actually put all of what I had learned and that my message to people, it's not about speaking, it's about being. And that's what
Mm,
they're afraid is, to be themselves, right? Because if you're yourself and aren't afraid to be yourself, your voice comes naturally.
that's amazing. And I want to say that one more time. It's not about speaking, it's about being
Yeah.
your true
And all,
self, right?
yeah, and all
That's
my
amazing.
seven secrets that I talk about in my book begin with be. Be still, be present, be attuned, be aware, be positive, be connected, and be yourself. Those are the seven, and each one of them has so much depth, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. My gosh. Yeah. I mean, for everyone here listening, you definitely should check out the book. It will be in the show notes below as well. Learn those 7 Bs. I'll put them in the show notes as well. So you'll see those 7 Bs because you need to have them. They definitely will transform the way that you live your life. It'll definitely help you become more innovative, and find your true purpose, which is what we're trying to do here is we're trying to innovate on purpose. So it's, definitely a very excellent topic to be talking about right now, and I think it's going to give tremendous value to our audience.
Thank
Doreen,
you.
any last note that you want to talk to the audience about? Anything that you want to, any parting words you want to leave people with?
Well, you just did something brand new. I've never called it the 7 Bs.
I have a thing with alliterations.
Uh-huh. It's just so this whole idea of being in the moment and
Hmm.
open and receptive. So that hopefully what you just did, the 7 Bs to people, will help them remember it's not about speaking, it's about being.
Hmm. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Doreen, for being on the show today. And also, I do know that you have like an assessment on your website. Is there anything else that you want to guide the audience to that can help them along their way in their journey to find their voice?
Well, there's a free 7 step guide to fearless speaking, and it has all those 7 Bs. So it's Doreen7steps.com, Doreen7steps.com. And I would hope that they would get it right away. And I think that there's a free time to be with me. and,
That's the eighth
and
B.
yes, yeah. So,
Well,
yes,
awesome. And that
thank
that
you.
also will be in the show notes. So please click on that, check it out. You won't be sorry that you did. Again, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so grateful for you, our friendship here, and the time that we spent today. I know it's going to be super valuable for everybody. I know it was valuable for me. You solved my problem with a childhood bully, so thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you. And everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll have another podcast coming out really soon here, but keep on innovating with purpose. We're going to help you find that clarity so you can innovate purposefully. Thank you.